Welcome back to the Hear K Tell podcast. On this episode, my special guest is none other than Keesa K. She's a Canadian, a former student athlete, and the current founder of Hoop Queens, which is an organization that provides hoop runs throughout the entire year for female athletes. She also provides workshops, tips on how to, but more importantly, on and off the court, how to transition from sport to career. You don't want to miss the nugget drops in this episode. See you soon. Welcome back to the Hear K Tell podcast. I'm always your host, Christina Alexander. I have a special guest, none other than Canada's own, Keesa K. And I want to make sure that you guys understand that in this episode, she's going to drop a ton of nuggets. She is a former student athlete, and she's the current founder of Hoop Queens. Welcome, Keesa, to the show. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in because I don't even want to cut anything short. Tell us about Hoop Queens.
Yeah, so Hoop Queen started in 2020, in the middle of COVID. I was coaching a U13 team at the time. I actually didn't want to coach. I was like, all right, I'm gonna hang up the shoes, you know, call it a day, make some money, get a job, be a regular person. And then I kind of missed the game. I was getting out of shape, and I was like, "All right, what's going on with life?" So I started coaching this U13 team, and then COVID hit, and I just knew people in my network. Just obviously being a student athlete, that little orange basketball taking me across the country. So my network was building throughout my sport journey, and when COVID hit. Um, I just kind of hit some people up, talking about like training and like, just kind of expanding my Rolodex and like the other side of the game. Yeah, COVID hit. There was no gyms, no trainers. Like everyone was kind of like weird, like, oh, I don't know if we're, doing this whole basketball thing. Couldn't share basketball in Canada. I don't know what your rules over there were, but basically there was like some, phases that we had to go through. So I hit one of my childhood friends up, and he actually opened up a gym. It was supposed to open up before COVID, but then obviously COVID happened, so it got delayed, and it opened up in June or July. They had limited spots, and the girls that I was coaching at the time wanted a gym, like wanted some. Like I was like, okay, I taught you well. Like you guys want to get in the gym, you guys want to get in shape, keep in shape, for your next season, and that's kind of when the run started. I actually wanted to get back in shape myself, so I got in there. I got the girls that I was coaching, and then some of the girls that I played and grew up with. I was like, all right, let's teach these girls some real basketball. So I think that's when I kind of just naturally, like Hoop Queen just naturally started. The whole mentorship aspect. I was like, oh, I don't want to be a mentor. Like that word was very like old and like you're not cool. And I was like, okay, like I want to be a cool coach. Like I don't want to be a mentor. So Hoop Queens kind of was birthed there, 2020. We just started off with runs. We started off with just having a safe space for the girls to play. And then it kind of went viral, I would say, across Toronto, Canada. Everyone's like, what is this? Like what is Hoop Queens? Why is it why is it a thing? Like why is it a brand? And I went to school for business. So I was like, let me not waste my degree and like let me put my business hat on and figure out how I can make this like a business, or nonprofit at least. So yeah, I was looking into things. We built basically a momentum for like the whole women's basketball space in Toronto because there was nothing like that. There was obviously women's runs before. Like I never created the thing, but um, we did that, and then every year since 2020, we've been just building on the momentum and getting better and better every year. And then in 2022, we started Canada's first paid women's basketball league.
Ooh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
so long-winded, but basically, yeah, I got together a team. Um, I kind of assembled the Avengers, and basically some like all my team basically helped me kind of build that. And we paid the girls $250 a game, which is or sorry, $200 a game, and then our second year is $250 a game.
Okay.
Um, But yeah, that's kind of like your basis, like your base salary if you go overseas. We wanted to keep the talent in Canada. We want to keep that opportunity going after university. So I know that was like there's like a niche waiting to be filled kind of thing. So with the runs, I kind of had the trust with the community, and I built a tournament, and then I went to build the league in 2022, and here we are in season three. We just finished season three, and it's been an amazing ride. So
To say the least. I mean, to think about again, and this is sort of like one of my next questions of how did you get into the field? Now, obviously, you were a student athlete, but I
yeah.
didn't know that your business acumen is what kind of, like you said, you put that hat on, paired it together, and here you are with an amazing, I don't want to even say opportunity, just in your gift of
Yeah.
really providing something that, like you said, that was not bigger than it is now. And obviously, with the timing of women's basketball and just sport in general for females, for girls, and for women. And so, I mean, hey, I know for me, I've recruited in Canada like plenty of times. I don't ever remember being able to go to quote unquote good runs. And so if I was recruiting now, I know where I would be for sure.
Exactly. So basically, I played ball all my life.
Mhm.
Really, the only sport other than track and field, and that kind of goes hand in hand. So
Right.
I yeah can't do any other sport. I'm not a multi-sport athlete, but I can be if I wanted to. I think basketball and track are my first love. So play basketball my life, and then I didn't really know what to do in university. My mentor was like, okay, well, if you're getting a scholarship, you gotta figure out what
Right.
courses you would like, and it was kind of like a broad thing. And then I started to like actually like business, actually fall in love with understanding how money works, how the world works, how business works. Everything is a business transaction. So, um, yeah, I think with that, those skills that university taught me at least are definitely transferable to like how I am as a businesswoman, as a person, just like how I conduct things. Yeah, my kind of my journey, it all kind of makes sense. Like everything fell into
The way it's
the right
supposed to.
place.
I believe in the universe conspires in our favor. So
Yeah, for
I'm happy to hear that. Now, you did mention one thing. You did say that your transferable skills were able to carry over from university. And my Canadians always say university. I love
yes,
that.
college. To
Carry
be
over from university to your career, because this is about sport to career.
yes,
Now, when you hear the words women's basketball,
yes.
WNBA, Canada, opportunities, what few words come to mind? Because I want to make sure that we share that part, not just the transferable skills, but what it specifically means to you.
Yeah, when I hear about, women's basketball or just women's sport in general in
Mhm.
Canada, I would say there's like a big opportunity here in Canada. A huge one. I don't know if that's two words, but big opportunity.
I'll take it.
Um, it's exciting.
Mhm.
Um, it's um, growing. Like it's on the exponential growth, and I think as we grow, we're starting to see the holes in the system that we need to support. So with Hoop Queens, obviously, we're getting a WNBA team in 2026. Um, I think from the development aspect of basketball in Canada, there's a lot of things that have been untapped. And with Hoop Queens, we're tapping them in and filling the holes. So um, we want to basically develop the fan base, obviously for the WNBA for them to come. We have our league already set. So we just want to spread awareness and work with um, you know anybody that's in women's sport that's like going to like elevate the
That's right.
opportunities for these
Mhm.
women. So
Now it's interesting. You already one step ahead, point guard. In terms of, well, I want to ask two questions, two part, based off the information you just shared with us about Toronto receiving a team in 2026. First and foremost, what was the when you talk about mindset, because I think it's important when we talk about student athletes who transitions into careers,
yeah.
there's a specific mindset. And what was the mindset behind Hoop Queens? I know what you provide on the court and off the court, but has that changed Now
For
we're in 2024. Has that changed since
For
2020?
sure. This is gonna be a long-winded question, but or answer.
We got time, Keesa. We have time.
But yeah, because I ramble a lot. But no, I mean, like when I started it, this wasn't a I'm gonna create a business. Like this is what my goal is. This is what my exit strategy is. This is what like I didn't have any plan. It was like I'm gonna start some runs. This is what the
Mhm.
girls need. This is what I need to get back in shape. So let me just do it. Um, but as I started to grow and actually started to write things down on paper and the things that I wanted to, you know, basically do with this movement that I had the support of the community, I had the support of the people around me. I had the support of, corporate brands coming in and supporting. So I said, okay, I have something that's really, really special here. How can I align with it personally, just like what are my goals, and my goal is to like leave a legacy behind and make sure that like
Right.
women are elevated whether you're playing basketball or not. So I yeah, so when I started Hoop Queens, I did not have no big plans to start a league. I have no plans to like do anything that I was doing right now. I was just like in it and like just literally living in the moment. But as I started to build the momentum of Hoop Queens, I was like, this is limitless. Like there's so many opportunities that I can provide here for these women, and I can also like just yeah, like I said, fill the niche that's been kind of been waiting to be filled with women's basketball, women's sport in Canada, in the world, to be honest. So as things started to develop throughout the year. So we're in season 3 now.
Mhm.
Around season 2, between season 2 and season 3, I was thinking like, how can we take this thing bigger? Like for me, my mentality has always been how can I get better every year as a
Mhm.
businesswoman, as a leader, as a person? How can I be like I'm my own competition. So, and with that, it's like I set the standard, set the bar higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, just for myself and for the people around me, because that's just who I am, and I have always been that way. Um, so with Hoop Queens, it's like we want to set the standard of how women sports should be displayed, should be thought of, we're intentional about everything that we do. So my mentality going into the next season is always just like how can we get better, and how can we make sure we're providing more opportunities, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, from start to finish, we've been providing a safe space and an opportunity for women to play and get better as women.
Mhm.
So that's just all in all like the bottom line. So yeah, there's the mentality for me is always been not even about myself. It's really just about the community and the next generation of women playing sports or basketball specifically. So
Certainly, certainly. That was the nugget drop, folks. If you're not writing anything down, start to write it down. She already dropped it for you. Now, you talk about elevation, wanting to elevate not only just the women's game, but women in general sport. Obviously, with Toronto getting a WNBA team, and that's huge. I don't, unless you really, and I know the casual fan is like, yay, basketball. Well,
yeah,
for those of us, our lives have been about women's basketball. For Canada to get a team, it's
yeah,
almost like when the NBA took the Canadian teams away, we were like, wait, no, we don't really want that. So we're excited that
yeah,
our Canadian brothers and sisters will be able to enjoy the WNBA as we do over here in the States.
yeah,
Now, do you think that that's going to have, and I think I can kind of assume your response. Do you
yeah.
think it's going to have a big influence on the Canadian game? Or do you think, is there a difference? Or do you think it's all basketball? I want your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think in general, having a WNBA team here is going to be amazing for basketball itself, not even just women's basketball, just like basketball sport. Like the
Yeah.
sport system here in Canada is very behind when you compare it to the US. We're catching up, definitely, but I think we need some more support. We need way more support. We need more representation. We need more opportunity for us to be able to, you know, get to that. And I mean, I feel like in all sports we're definitely you know, taking
Competitive. Yeah. Oh,
uh,
yeah.
but with the WNBA coming here, it's like you're creating that representation. One, like little girls can actually like. I growing up, I'd never seen a WNBA game in person. Like my first WNBA game was literally like I think last year, well the preseason one, and then this year is my first one that I actually went to.
Oh,
I
wow.
went to LA Sparks versus the Atlanta Dream, and I was like, this is my first WNBA game actually, like
Right.
in season. This is wild. I'm 29 years old.
Right.
Um, so you know, I
Overdue. Overdue.
yeah, I mean, like it's crazy to think about and to actually like if you think about it, it's like wow, like Canadians actually don't even get to like see a women like a WNBA
Mhm.
game unless they go to America. So with the WNBA coming here, it's going to be such an amazing pivotal point in like women's sports, women's basketball, because you can actually now go to a game and actually like aspire to be that.
Right.
I think there's obviously that dream of like, yeah, I'm gonna go to WNBA one day, but it's like you could actually go to a game and see it and feel it and like meet, hopefully meet the girls and or meet the women and just work in it. And even just as a grown woman, work in the WNBA, work in
Right.
women's sports, grown women's sports. So it's gonna be amazing for just like women's sport, women's basketball itself. I think
Mhm.
even with Hoop Queens, where they're definitely gonna complement it. It's gonna create like more opportunities for women to like just see the game and be paid at a great level. So I mean, I think the aspiration. So here in Canada, like we don't have any semi-pro leagues. We have no leagues except for like literally mine.
Right.
So after university, it's like okay, well I'm just gonna go get a full-time job and just or I'm gonna go play overseas. Like that's literally the two options. There's no other option.
Mhm.
So I think when it comes to the mentality of changing the women's mentality of like, okay, I can aspire to be something greater past post secondary um because if you don't like if you don't go D1 or if you don't go to a youth sports school, it's like okay, well I can't even aspire or think that I
Mhm.
can get to the WNBA. So um yeah, I think it's going to definitely change a lot of women or people's mentality of like where how far they can get in this sport journey of theirs.
I don't even think I realized just in you sharing that last part, I don't think I even realized the doors that you are knocking down. And not you're not even knocking them, you're opening all of them. When you talk about a young lady comes out of, university and she's like, "Look, I either am going overseas or I'm starting my adult life. I'm getting a job, career, and that's it." For you to have a like almost like a pipeline now. There's almost that could potentially, and I think so, can be almost like a feeder into the WNBA. Because at the end of the day, we want talent. We want talent. We want young ladies who are passionate, who are good at their craft. They've been doing it for so long,
Yeah.
I could tell you countless stories, and I'm older than you, Keesa, so we won't even tell people how old I am. But the opportunities when they weren't there, you just didn't aspire to do it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because now, like I said, those doors are open. So now you're kind of figuring, well, do I want to go through that door, and that door? So you're
Yeah.
providing that and part. And I think, again, I didn't realize. I mean, again, I know a little bit about Canadian basketball, but this is what intrigued me to have you come on to the Here K Tell podcast is because this is something that is opening more doors. We need it,
Yeah.
and I just want to continue to elevate it because I think it's an awesome thing. Hoop Queen, shout out for sure, for sure, for sure. I have another question now. When you think of women that have paved the way for you and for anyone that you look up to, what do they have in common? Because you kind of mentioned a few transferable skills, a
Mhm.
couple skill sets that you have, but I want you to talk about those women as well.
Yeah, I mean, like Cheryl Swoops, like
The infamous
that
Cheryl.
that is my girl. So she's just like relentless. It's like she just gets it done. Like it's literally like a get it done mentality. And I think um growing up watching her and like, not like in person, but like growing up watching her, like kind of like hearing about, all the things that she's done. And now that she does the things that she does in the community, it's just like it's just amazing to me that black women and women in general um like can get it done. And it's not about like just like yeah, it's just not about like what people make it seem. I think Serena, yeah, obviously. Serena. She's not my friend. I don't know her personally. I hope
That's
one day
okay.
I meet her.
Listen, she's a sister.
But
She's all right.
she, yeah, just like her business, like her business mind is just so
Mhm,
amazing to me, and I study her, like I study how she does things and how she moves and things like that, and it's just I'm just in awe of these women, and like, obviously Kenneth Parker, and just like people that I like literally are like, oh wow, these are black women doing amazing things.
mhm,
um and then when I started to, started Hoop Queens, I was like, oh, like, I obviously knew I was like, a young black woman doing things, but or like doing something, making some impact, but I didn't realize how important it was for young girls to see a black woman in a like decision making role,
absolutely.
um, until probably maybe the first year of the Hoop Queens Summer League. I didn't realize the impact of like, wow, these women, these young women are like young girls are literally looking up to me and like literally like think that I'm a celebrity, and I'm definitely not a celebrity, but they're like, oh my god, like this, she's so important. You know what I'm saying? Like that, she's a person that is like doing things for other women, and I didn't realize like the transferable skills that I was kind of just like, it's kind of ingrained in me now, um,
Mhm,
but yeah, it's wild to me that, even my mom is like so inspiring to me. She works so hard. Um, I grew up in a single parent household because my father passed away, but she was working at like literally two jobs all the time.
yeah,
And I became kind of like that, I was cooking. I was, I was so independent at such a young age. And my sister, she just taught me so many things. Like there's so many women that's around me that are like, just like embodied like of what a queen, and like what, women are, how women are supposed to treat other women, how women are supposed to
yes.
be. It's such a great example to see, and I surround myself with amazing women. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
It did.
um,
No, it landed. Trust me, it did. Because I think it's important you mentioned your mom, your sister. You mentioned people that you've noticed, that you've seen, Serena and Cheryl. And these are, and again, it's nice to see someone that looks like us, like you said, that are making decisions, not just the employee, but the employer. And I think it's oftentimes that's not talked about.
yeah,
We always see men in positions of power and positions of control, so
yeah,
it's nice to see us doing the very things that we love to do and empowering not only the opposite, but those that look exactly like us. And so I know you it landed, you
okay.
said it, and yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I always want to talk about the highs, but I also want to talk about the challenges. So from a mindset perspective,
Ooh.
oh yeah. Well, you only got to give us one. What is the biggest challenge in this space that you're in now? And you mentioned transitioning from sport to career, starting something new. It was during COVID, so that had its own challenges, I'm sure. Uh,
Sure.
realizing that your legacy has already begun and that you want to do something for the next generation, knowing that these young girls look up to you, because that's a lot. People go, well, you don't have to do that. It is what it is. And you are representing at the highest level. What are some of the mental challenges that you have experienced?
Um, so many. There's so
You
many.
only got to give me one.
There's so many mental challenges and barriers that I have every day. It's like it's
Mhm,
from, I think I'm now kind of how wash my hands of the transition of being an athlete now into a entrepreneur,
mhm,
and a businesswoman. I think I've transitioned because that transition was so hard for me. It was
mhm.
so hard to like, what, like I'm not competing anymore. Oh my god, I'm not, like there's like, physically too. It's like you go, your body's like, whoa, what are we doing here? Like we're just chilling. Like, stay in shape. Like there's so, and there's like a lot of mental blocks with that. Like it's like, okay, well, what am I why am I, in the weight room trying to challenge? I'm not even competing. Like what am I doing? And I've never, like, we've never had that as athletes. So I think that transition, like it's definitely, I kind of like, I've I've solved that problem.
Okay.
I think now in this position that I am in, I think the challenges are, one, sometimes it's like it's a lot of, the crown's heavy. Like it's a lot of weight on my shoulders that I got to make sure, Um, things are always intentional. Things are always done properly. Things are always, you got to keep up with um, a lot of the pressure. And I think it's more, it's not even other people or the community putting pressure on me. I think it's myself because
Hmm.
I have a standard that I hold of myself, and I'm such a perfectionist, and I'm so like, okay, how can you get better for your like better from the last thing that you did? Like I'm so like competitive in terms of just self competitive, like I'm always like, okay, how can I one up? How can I be better than I did? Like how can I be better than I was yesterday? How can
Right.
I be better than I was last week? Like my mentality for myself, like my standard is so high, and I'm efficient at a very high level. So when I know that I'm not being efficient, it's so hard. I get so hard on myself. So I think that's where the mental like highs and lows come through. Um, I mean, for me, I think at this point, when I hear no and when I hear um, when I have challenges and things like that, I mean, I don't go through like you know, sad times. I think I really try to stay leveled. And I think with
Okay.
basketball, that's kind of taught me like to do that. Like, don't get too high, don't get too low, kind of thing. I think
Right.
with business as well, like that's the same mentality that I have. So when I hear no, it's like okay, well, whatever, like get it done, find another way. There's no kind of like low point. I think yeah, I mean, I feel like there was a lot of highs and lows when I first started the pro league, or I guess like the summer league. There was a lot of highs and lows when I started that. I didn't feel as confident as I do now in
Hmm.
my abilities. And yeah, I think it's just more so about just reassuring myself and like really walking into like that queen the queendom of like you're a queen, like you've
You
set the
serve it.
stage
You
for
belong
yourself,
here.
you set the stage for people, like you're giving women opportunity and like really speaking positively to myself because there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and
Right.
your mental is such a big part of like your efficiency and your discipline and your consistency. So like taking care of your mental, being super like just positive, um and I also think like yeah, there's a lot of like things that I can get high and low about, but I mean like everything works itself out. Like that's what I've noticed. I think this year is like a big reality check for me. It's like it'll work out. If it doesn't work out, it's not supposed to happen. Or if it's not working out right now, there's something that is stopping it for a reason. And really, really sit still and be okay with that. That it's not happening right now. I used
Absolutely.
to get like anxiety attacks and like, oh my god, I gotta get this done. And like,
No, no, ma'am. Mm-mm.
there was so much mental things that I've never had a panic attack in my life before. Two Queens. I was like, I was pretty chill. But because of like all the pressure that I put on myself
Mhm.
to, execute, um, I really started to realize um, how mentally like you got to focus on like building that mental muscle. So
That
yeah,
was the nut job. Like, no, that answered the question.
okay,
Because I think oftentimes when we see people, we always see maybe the final output, the final
yes,
outcome, but we don't see the process. And then
yeah,
when we talk about the process, sometimes it's glorified as, yeah, I did this and I was down and now it's like, but like as you just mentioned, the mental approach is a day-to-day thing. It's a
yes,
scenario to scenario, and everything might not be the same. It might not always
yeah,
blend, but whenever it presents itself, it either it's for or it's not. And no
exactly.
doesn't mean no, it just means not yet. And
Yeah,
just like you
and then
eloquently stated,
sorry to cut you, but
no, go ahead.
Dawn said her speech at ESPYS, and I was like, yes, this is exactly it. Like
We all was saying that, Keisa.
like
Like
literally,
we were all like, can
yeah,
we be in the
I
crowd?
felt that we have this, cross to carry. We have this, this weight to carry for ourselves, but it's not. If you take yourself out of the situation, it's bigger than you. Like it's bigger than the things that you think is challenging. It's like people are fighting for their lives. Like life is like so much bigger than what we are looking at
Mhm.
right now. And I attest that because it's like yeah, like this situation is hard to get over or to like deal with right now, but there's a young girl that's like waiting for the next junior hoop queens to start, or like there's a woman out here that's like training and practicing for the next hoop queen summer league like season.
Yeah,
So it's like it's bigger than like what we think it is.
absolutely.
It's bigger than us.
Absolutely. No, no, very, very true. We were all shouting for Dawn. Like we were all like, you know
Yeah,
what?
like that's exactly how I feel.
Sleeping on Dawn, but that's okay. All right, so let's pivot slightly because I want to make sure that I get this part in. When you started your own, and whether it's business, sport, or all of the above, what two things do you think it requires? Because I want our viewers, our listeners, both on all Apple Podcasts and YouTube, to understand. We talk about the journey, we talk about the transition, we talk about you as the individual, but we
Yeah,
also want to give them some nuggets to take away with once they're done viewing this episode. So,
yeah.
what two things would you suggest?
I would suggest just to start. I think I think a lot of us we have ideas. Jay-Z said it best. We all have the ability to be a genius. We all have the ability
Mhm,
to be our own expert in our own craft. I think for us, especially as Black women, I think we have a standard for ourselves to be so perfect and set things straight before we start.
mhm,
I think with Hoop Queens, I was like, so a year before Hoop Queens, actually, I wanted to start a business. I just didn't know like exactly what I was doing. Um, and I was like, I went to school for business. Like, I could do this. Like, just thinking of business ideas and things like that. And then Hoop Queens just kind of fell into my lap as like, oh shit, this is a business right here. Oh, I'm so sorry.
it's all right.
Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Hoop Queens is a business right here. So I realized I'm like, okay, people just have a very hard time starting.
Mhm,
People have a hard time starting without being perfect. Like nothing is going to be perfect. Like the your idea of what your business is day one, it's not going to be the same as the business that you started in year three, like at all. So I think yeah, my advice for people would just kind of be like, okay, yeah, start, like just start, figure what step one is, and
mhm,
step two, take those first two steps, and just get it done, literally, because without I understand that like obviously there's some things that need to get be put in place before you start, but start putting those things in place and then literally just do it. Like you'll figure it out. Like as a businesswoman and as a business person, you just figure it out because
mhm.
not saying your livelihood is dependent on it, but it's like this is your business. This is not you're not working for somebody. You're not helping your friend out. It's you. Like this is you. If this thing if you don't put in effort, this thing doesn't run.
Yeah.
So it's like you just got to get it done. So your mentality kind of switches onto like a okay, well I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna figure it out because I want my business to thrive. Because it's your business.
Mm,
So one thing is to like just start, and
mhm.
then two is like just believe in your abilities. I think a lot of times we kind of question and we have that. I don't know about men, but I think women we have this the most of like imposter syndrome. Like we have imposter syndrome, and it's like we talk ourselves out of situations
That's
and
universal, Keesa.
yeah,
Universal.
it's
That's
it's
universal.
kind of like it's a weird thing, and I think as you start your business, you have to really believe that you are made to be in this industry, in this position to create jobs, create this opportunity that whatever business that you're starting. So um, I think yeah, just for people, it's just like yeah, start whatever idea that you have, and two, just like believe in your abilities because you will get it done. Like as people, we are efficient. Like we are people
Resource.
that are passionate about whatever you're passionate about. Like we once we're set on something, it's like all right, let's keep going. So it's never a
Agreed.
one and done. So
Agreed. No, I agree totally with you on that one. I think it's important. Hence why I wanted you to share with our viewers because it's so important. Again, we talk about the highs, but it's important to talk about those speed bumps, those hurdles along the way.
yeah.
Now, for you, Keesa, what's next for you and for Hoop Queens?
What's next? Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
boy, that's a
Dot,
loaded
dot.
question. There's so many things that are in the works right now.
Look at
Um,
that.
I have some big ideas. I mean, with
Okay.
Hoop Queens, I feel like we've reached our goal of like, hey, we've created opportunities, we've created jobs, we've created scholarships, we've created skill development programs. We've reached what I really how I really wanted to start this thing. Like this is our
Mhm.
now. I wouldn't say year one. This is our year three or year four. But this is like kind of like our year one. Like I have everything kind of I've done it all. I've experienced it
Mhm.
all. Now how can I refine and perfect it? So I feel like this is my year one in my head. Um, um, what's next for Hoop Queens? There's a lot of things in the works. There's a lot of
Okay.
partnerships in the works. So just growing what we have now and building on top of the foundation that we've built for the past 4 years. So more opportunities, more programming, um, yeah, just more safe spaces to create, in Canada, in the US, in the world. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, the Hear K Tell podcast wants to say, however, we can be a part of it and help you, because again, what you're doing is amazing. I
Thank you.
specifically and honestly believe it. And again, we don't like to tell folks how my guests become a part of my tribe, my connection. Sometimes it's through someone else, sometimes it's not. I'm glad you were able to join us because what you're doing with Hoop Queens is awesome. I look
You.
forward to some of the things you just talked about that are on the horizon. And again, appreciate you joining us on the Hear K Tell podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. I appreciate you. K, K,
Absolutely.
K, K. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you joining us on the Hear K Tell podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe if you're not already a part of the family, like, and definitely share. We'll see you next episode.